everybody, and welcome back to another segment here on Let's Talk Dispatch with me on my channel, The Raspy Dispatcher. I just got through working the 4th of July for my new agency, which is a smaller city, and it was pretty smooth sailing. Definitely different. The difference between working for a larger city and a smaller city, and the amount of 911 calls you receive for fireworks was definitely different, and I was super appreciative of the drop in 911 calls. Um, so today I had the pleasure of speaking with Dominique Mathis, creator of 911. Hello, 911. She's a training supervisor for dispatch out in Florida. So I'm gonna bring her on now. Hi,
Hi,
Dominique.
Ashley. Hi, Ashley. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Feeling good. Feeling great. Happy to be here today.
Yeah. How was your holiday? Did you have a restful, hopefully, holiday?
Absolutely. I'm actually on vacation now. I'm in
Yay.
sunny San Antonio, Texas, where it got up to like maybe 103 degrees yesterday.
That's
So yes,
Atlanta
so
weather.
it's extremely humid. So, but I'm enjoying myself. Vacation is going well. Yes,
Awesome. Very, very cool.
yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about your journey. I found you on Instagram. Hello 911, doing your thing. Would love to know more about how you got into dispatch and where it's taken you so far.
Absolutely. So I started dispatch almost 18 years ago. So August 23rd, 2004 was my first day in communications. So I went through a 6-week training academy. And after that, I got, well, actually, before I even started the academy, I was able to sit inside of the dispatch center for like almost 2 months. So I think that's why the job became a little bit easier for me, especially the academy, because I had that time frame where I was able to get to know the job. So after learning call taking position, which is our 911 or non-emergency, I went on to become a dispatcher. And soon as after I became a dispatcher, I actually was mandated to go to an entirely different city from where I was dispatching from already, right? And I cried because it was a longer drive from home. I lived in Miami at the time, and I was sent to maybe 40 minutes away from home.
Wow.
But you know what? Let me tell you, they always say pain is pleasure, right? Or something like that in that sense, because it was definitely a learning experience for me. And I grew to love that dispatch center.
Mm.
And after becoming, dispatching for police, I learned how to become a fire dispatcher. Then I learned teletype operations. And
Mm.
then I soon became a communications training officer. And so
Mm.
after so many years, our county became regionalized, which means there was one answering point for all 911s in the county, except for
Mm.
like 2 cities in our county. We're a big county, 32 cities.
Mm.
So once I did that, the opportunity came for me to become a instructor. So I was an instructor of all, let's say, supplemental trainings, and mostly or mainly was the training academy. So for anyone who was coming into 911, they would come into our dispatch center through our training. After that, the position came available to be a supervisor. I took tests, I did an interview, and voila, everything aligned. I became a supervisor. After that, an opportunity came back for me to become a training supervisor. And after like a year, I became a training supervisor. So that's what I do now. I have a lot of hats, right? But one of them mainly that I try to focus on a lot is our training academy. So you may see it a lot on social media, especially on LinkedIn, where I post a journey. But that's how my dispatch career started. And I'm going into my 18th year. It'll be 18 years next month. So we're talking about almost 2 decades of being in dispatch.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how much dispatch has changed even over these 18 years. I mean, 911 as a whole hasn't been a lot around for that long, right? Like 50 years or something like that, I think we're at
Right.
now.
Right.
And just the technology that's come along even in the last 18 years, or, I had people who've been dispatching with a long time talk about like using different systems, having to not having the same CAD system that we have and having to just handhelds and dispatch through phones and like all these things. I was like, I don't know if I could have done this job 18 years ago. I
Mhm.
mean, it just looks so different. And technology has always been so intertwined with, my youth and growing up and just things constantly developing. I couldn't imagine doing this job 18 years ago, manual modes and whatnot. Like, I imagine it was very challenging compared to maybe now.
Absolutely. But you think about it. I call, the veterans the rock stars
Mm-hmm.
because they were dispatching on paper, on cards. They had runners. There was no CAD or computer aided dispatch application that can
Mm-hmm.
tell you who to send, what deputy to go on this call, what officer, what fire rescue unit to respond. They had to know all of that information off the top of their head, right? So sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
think were the creme de la creme. They were the best
Yeah.
of dispatching,
Yeah.
because again, right now we have a lot of technology to assist us. Not saying that our critical minds aren't really there, but I think back then they had a lot to do compared to what we
Yeah.
have now. They had a lot
Or
to do.
even the map, just the map system, like we
Yes.
have the privilege of mapping our officers now. Some departments, I know some are still working on getting that technology, but we have this great privilege of being able to see where they are, how fast they're going, like just this, like I couldn't imagine having to dispatch off those like map phone books. We had them at my old agency for manual mode if things went down, having to really track them in that way.
Right.
I couldn't imagine it. Honestly,
I
I
want to say,
really could not.
believe it or not, in our dispatch center, we actually still have it. So we have hard copies of map books. Like during
Mm-hmm.
the training academy, they actually have to learn mapping throughout the entire academy
Mm.
because the county is so big. Just imagine you have one address that is good in several cities in the county.
Yeah.
So if
Wow.
someone tells you I'm at 222 Southeast First Avenue, that can be a good address in a few cities in the
Yeah.
county. So that's where the geography and the mapping come to play because you got to know about cross streets. We call this thing called street equivalencies. So if you have a street name, you have to know what's the numerical equivalent to that street name. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot that comes in, and I kind of joke about it sometimes on LinkedIn where I say, our trainees actually have a PhD in geography, right?
Yeah.
But
Straight up.
in a sense that it's kind of true because we literally dissect it. Like the post office goes by zip codes, we go by addresses. And if
Mm-hmm.
you tell us where we are, our responsibility is to make sure that we know exactly where you are, well, along with
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Of
Along with
course. Yeah.
mhm.
And I'm gonna have to brag a little bit. I have successfully in my career avoided manual mode. Like every time a manual mode let me knock on some wood before I show up to work and it's just all on fire. But genuinely, like every time it's gone down, I've been like leaving, just coming in, like when it's coming back up, and I'm like, success. Because we had the runners, we have little bells, like, oh, come get this card, and like someone would run it, all that stuff. So I've successfully avoided that, and I'm hoping to keep that going for the
See,
rest of my
kudos to
career.
you. See,
Fingers
see, you're
crossed.
doing good. You're doing great. You're doing good.
That's my just avoid it, then you don't got to deal with it, right?
Absolutely.
uh,
Absolutely.
I definitely had a similar experience to you coming into this career. I was a pre-hire before my academy, so I got to spend probably about 2 months as well on the floor taking calls before my academy mates. So I was taking like private property tows and repos and alarm calls. So
Wow.
anyone get a call like that, they throw it on hold and I pick it up and I take it. So I got a lot of exposure prior to my academy mates and a lot of time to do codes and stuff like that going into my academy. And I do think that it was very helpful, giving me a leg up. So, because our academy was, you had to uh, get 80% on our tests
Mhm.
throughout, or you fail out. Um, and then you're going for seniority. So, whatever order you finish in is the order you go onto the floor in seniority in your class. So, if you finish at the top, you're the top of your class, the bottom of the whole department or whatever. But you get the leg up on the rest of your academy mates.
Wow.
So that I think that 2 months really did give me an edge, and it was a nail biter up into the end, but I ended up being able to push ahead. But
See,
uh,
see?
But I do think those 2 months are super helpful. Just getting comfortable in the center and getting comfortable with the phone system before going into academy, I think was really helpful for me.
And I think that's interesting to see because right now, that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to
Mm-hmm.
compare it to where, okay, is it, is it a great thing? Is it a good thing? Does it help? And, I always tell my instructors, like, you got to test it out with a few students, right? A few
Mm-hmm.
trainees. We just can't go based off of one person's experience because we
Mm-hmm.
tried that and this person didn't really perform well in the academy like we thought they would do. And
Mm-hmm.
they say, well, that's not going to work. I say, but you just don't know. You have to compare it to other students, right?
Right.
I was a success of it. Someone else I know was a success. You were a success with it, but this
Mm-hmm.
particular student did not. So, we're trying to figure out ways does it help?
Mm-hmm.
Does it help to do it? Because, we asked them for their feedback after the academies. And, we like to know, well, how did you do? What are your expectations? Or, what can we do to improve? And chances are they're going to say, I wish I would have had more time in the center with observations.
Mm. Okay.
Mhm,
Yeah. How's
mhm.
your guys' academy set up? We had a very similar, like, I think ours was 7-week academy.
So we're actually 12-week academy.
Oh, nice.
So we're a 12-week academy, and the first 6 weeks of the academy is all state curriculum. So here in Florida, all of our 911 operators, telecommunicators are certified by the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that can include someone from EMS. They can also include police officers as well. So, first 6 weeks, all state, curriculum. However, we adhere to the state curriculum, but we're able to disseminate the information or facilitate the information how we want to, right? But
Okay.
it just has to go by the guidelines of the state. And the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the 6 weeks is more application, practicality, where we apply things like, priority dispatch, IAED, right?
Mm-hmm.
EMD, EFD, let's say gathering information, pertinent information, internet information into CAD. So that's what our academy is about, but it is 12 weeks in length.
Nice. So I know I jumped on with within the trenches in Ricardo last week, and we were talking about like kind of our first experiences, like answering 911, and mine happened during my academy. And so our academy was 6 or 7 weeks. First 4 were classroom stuff. Then we had what they called hot week, which was when they put you out onto the floor with a one-on-one trainer, and you kind of get exposed for a week before you're actually released into training. So when you go into training, you're not like just scared completely.
Right,
So
right,
they give
right.
you a little taste, bring you back, like, you good? All right. And so I remember I was a pre-hire, so I had spent time already with like our phone system, our CAD system. So I was pretty familiar with how it worked. And my instructor was taking each of us out to introduce them to the phone system, but it was taking a really long time for them to come back and grab the next person. I was like, what are they? It's not that it's not that deep. Like, what are they doing out there? And then I
Right,
finally went out and they're like, well, you're already familiar with it, right? And I was like, yeah, this, that. They're like, okay, here's a headset. We're gonna go ready. We're gonna answer 911. And I was like,
right.
what?
See,
What?
see, see,
Right
see.
now? They're like, right now. And I
Yes,
was like, oh,
yes,
okay. And you just gotta go. You gotta get your feet wet. And
yes,
but I do think that the training process in this line of work is so important. And I think the
yes,
more departments are intentional with creating environments where we can learn, we can feel supported,
yes.
and make safe mistakes. Like, obviously, in this line of work, mistakes matter. Um,
Right.
but we're not always going to be perfect in this job. We're human. We make mistakes. It's going to happen. And I think those who don't feel supported during training when they make those mistakes are those who don't make it. And we need more dispatchers to make it in this line of work,
Absolutely.
right? So
Absolutely. That's why
creating
it's
an
a great thing.
environment.
But what you're doing, like, it's I
Thank
love
you.
what you're doing because your platform focuses on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
that it's just not about going in and answering calls. There's a process to it. There's a process with the application process. There's a process, through an interview. Some agencies do psych exams. The critical test is very important. And some people think, oh, I can just go in there and do whatever on a critical. Absolutely not. It is, it is intense. I think, I've never taken it. Probably I did, but like 18 years ago, right? But there's a process to it. And a lot of things, we see a lot of movies on TV where we got the call and 911, and it's okay. It's cool. But again, it's entertainment, right?
Exactly.
But this is a very focused position. Like, just like a police officer, just like a firefighter, we have a skill set. And that skill set can be meaning critical thinking, able to empathize or sympathize with your caller. It may mean you making, decisions, quickly decisions, typing, being able to understand information, relay that information in the same manner in which it was given to you, but narrowing it down. And I tell people, and then let's talk about the number one thing, multitasking. So you display a lot of that. If not, you do all of that, in my opinion, on your platform. And I commend you for that, because you have helped so many people through the application process. Let me tell you, because you give us the realness of what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you for that. And I love what you're doing here. And, keep it up, because again, a lot of us, we focus on the current employees when it comes to training, but we don't focus on the pre-planning. And preparedness is key. Just like when we go back to like our FEMA and our NIMS classes, right? Preparedness is key. And you're doing that. You're preparing them for this career. And that is very, very important. So thank you, Ashley, for what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. I know one of the directions, I'm actually going to put a little reel out with the, it's in my free PDF that's in the link in the bio. You're hired. One of the directions is follow directions. Like, it seems so simple, but at my first agency, all of our training and all of our stuff was in-house. So I got to witness applicants, and I got to hear feedback about the applicants and their process. And sometimes folks just didn't follow directions. Like, don't bring your Apple Watch into the interview. And then they'd be there with their Apple Watch, and it's like,
right.
It's written there. So we like really have to pay attention to those little things, because something so innocent, it's almost a red flag. Like, well, it's this big interview you have coming up. I gave you all these instructions and you didn't follow them. So now I have to tell you, go take your Apple Watch off. You got to walk back outside, like, walk ashamed to put it in your car. I got to come, So
yes. You think it's the instructions or they're just not reading? I don't think they read it. You get what I'm saying? So most of the time I have people even reach out to me and ask me questions about certain things that, that we could be doing here in Florida. And I'll send them the links. I'll send them a paragraph. I'll send them something, right? And they'll come back and ask me the same question about the information that I've sent to them. And, and I always say this statement that I can lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink it. I definitely live by that proverb, because, we can all help you, but you got to want it for yourself, and everyone is not going to have the answers for you, So like you said, you're coming into an interview with an Apple Watch, but clearly on the directions, it says no electronic devices, to include Apple Watches. And now I'm not reading, but just say we take the same person, we put them in a dispatch center, right? They get a call reference to someone in the mall with a gun, God forbid, right? Because it's happening. And they relate to the units. Oh, we received a suspicious person inside of the mall walking around, but you eliminated the whole gun part. You get what I'm saying? Were you reading? Were you paying attention? Were you focused on what was going on? Probably not. But again, I don't want to say everyone's like that, but that's how they start off in the interviews, not following directions. And then they come into dispatch with that same, that attitude. And this is where the liability kicks in. Or dispatcher didn't relay all the information. We see it all the time in the news. So we got to be careful with that type of stuff. We have to be careful.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people ask me, because like you said, I'm doing a lot of the pre stuff, trying to get people in the door, trying to get people, to staff our centers. And a lot of people ask me like, well, why do we have to do all this? Why do we have to take the critical test? Why do I have to do a backgrounds? Why do I, like, why is it this deep? And it is this deep because our responsibility to the public is the same as any first responder who's in the field. We have the first, we're the first line, um, whether an officer is putting it out, on viewing something, or someone is calling on 911 to report something, or they're calling on non-emergency to report a cold incident. It's
Right,
it's all coming through dispatch. It has to
right.
start here, and because of that, we have a great responsibility to be as close to perfect while still being human. And
Absolutely.
our process helps kind of weed out the folks um, who may not have the foundational skills to
Hmm.
start and can get them and reapply, or, and I think this more importantly, it puts someone through the process and they go, I'm not really, I don't care this much, I don't want to work this hard, I don't, and then you for yourself, like, this isn't for me. And I think that's kind of the more important part. Rather than departments weeding folks out, it's you as the person who's going to be doing this tough job figuring out if this is for you, because
Absolutely.
we all need a paycheck, of course, but you're going to get a little trauma with this one. So, like,
Right,
is it worth it for you?
right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important that you say that because you'll realize yourself, is this for me or is this not for me? So you made great point there.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen your videos on YouTube. You've said in 911 center. You've done observations, and you say, you know what? I don't think
Mm,
someone calling 911 and I have to help them through CPR is going to work for me. Or
yeah.
the constant domestic violence calls that I'm receiving. I could be a victim of domestic violence, so this is not for me. This is a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important
Mm-hmm.
that you say that. Sometimes, the applicant may realize, hey, this is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't realize, like, we are a professional career. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, People say, oh, I don't just wake up one day and be a dispatcher. But I've met some people and they've told me all I've ever wanted to do is do 911, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a fantasy, where it could be a dream, where it could be one of their career goals. And I think us in 911 right now, we have, for those people who are like that they've always wanted to do that, we have to embrace them.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace them. And, those are the ones that you want to develop, because at the end of the day, if this is their goal, what they've always wanted to do, give them a hug and say thank you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because most of us, we can say, I didn't say I wanted to be a dispatcher. I always said I wanted to be a teacher, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to facilitate learning in my capacity for the last few
Mm-hmm.
years. So in a sense, I'm still serving others by facilitating learning as a quote unquote teacher or instructor.
Yeah, 1,000%. Because it's so important that that experience, like we said, is a good one. Like, I've talked to people who are just like DM me and they're just like, "Hey, are all dispatchers mean?" Like, I went through this training and I just had a very negative experience with my CTO, and like
Mm,
kind of this like toxic, you need to be able to dispatch 400 units at a time while providing CPR and working a radio channel. And if you can't do all that, you're a terrible dispatcher, can't do this job. Like, people are still having those experiences with
right. But who
people
can
during
do that though,
training.
Ashley? Let's think about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unrealistic expectations on the trainer.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the
Mm-hmm.
job, let's say 15 years, and you're expecting someone coming through the door to be as great as you are, or you think you're great
Yeah,
and you need improvement,
that
right?
part.
So I think the self-assessment is very important. I just did the webinar with Sarah with 911 Wonder
Mhm.
Woman, right? And we were talking
Mhm.
about that. Like, we have to look in the mirror and say, are we the best, right? And if we're not the best, what can we do to improve that? And it's
1,000%.
a constant thing, as just like you on your platform, you're constantly finding ways to improve the Raspy Dispatcher, because
Mhm.
again, that's who you are, that's your brand, and that's what you represent. So if you're
Mhm.
producing material from 10 years ago, are you really doing any self-assessments?
Mhm.
Absolutely not. So I think
Yeah.
that's important in our field as well, is for people who have that voice, they're in leadership roles, that, you have to constantly work on yourself,
Mhm.
because it's evolving. Change is evolving. We're human, and I could say it for myself as well. I'm always constantly looking for ways to improve Dominique. I'm always
Mhm.
trying to look to improve myself as a leader. I have a team of people who work with me, and if I'm not leading by example and they're not performing the way they're supposed to perform, I'm not even going to lie. I take that amongst myself.
Mhm.
It's kind of going by Adam Tim's book, the driven leader. Like, that's,
Mhm.
I'll take one for the team all day, because for me, a lot of times my team is a reflection of who I am and the services that I provide to them.
A
So I think
thousand
that's
percent.
important for you. Yeah, so that's very important for us to look at. Very important.
Mhm. So I remember the Titans quote: "Attitude reflects leadership." Yeah,
Yeah,
attitude reflects leadership. I think that's what it was.
yes.
And it's so true. Like if you're surrounded by people who are going to be who are supportive, and I'm sure I annoy my partners and my officers because I'll work, a pursuit or a hot call and be like, hey, how'd that sound? Was that good? Was it clear? Like I'm always looking for constructive feedback. I believe I am a good dispatcher. Am I the best in the world? Probably not, but I'm always looking to improve and receive feedback from my partners and my officers. So I definitely think we in dispatch, and it's such a fun time to be in dispatch. We're getting so much kudos. We're getting actually put out there, for the citizens as first responders. We got our own like live PD type shows that are just showing this job. Whereas
Right,
before we didn't get that. No one really talked
right.
about dispatch. And
No.
one of my big things was, I always knew I wanted to be in law enforcement in some way, shape, or form. I got
Mhm.
my bachelor's and my master's in criminal justice. And then at one point I just kind of was like, oh, I should probably start doing my, get into the field that I knew I was going to be in. And I found dispatch. And I went through all this education and we never talked about dispatching. And I just thought that was such a disservice because it's such a career job. It's a career job
Absolutely.
that folks can do early. It's entry level. A
Yes.
lot of places don't require a degree for this position as an entry level dispatcher. So even before you get your degrees and your education, if that's your dream, you could do this job, make good money, and still go pursue those things.
Mhm.
And you can stack that 401k and that pension and all that, have good benefits. And I think
Yes.
that's the goal. Like if we can get folks into this job early, we can create wealth, we can create generational wealth. Like this, I think this is a good position to be in, and it's needed. We need dispatchers.
Oh, you're feeding my soul right now, right?
I
I
bet
think
it.
that's how we connected for
Mhm.
on that level, because when I say you're feeding my soul with what you're saying right now, because this for me, that's the
Mhm.
goal too, with my business, my company with Hello 911, right?
Mhm.
It's all about empowering the dispatcher. It's all about empowering the telecommunicator, right?
Mhm.
You talked about starting your career early on in life, right? Where you're able to save your money, you're able to invest in your pension, you're able to
Mhm.
work on your 401k. So, like here in Florida, we have 450, or Broward County, we have 457s, right? Which is a form of
Mhm.
a 401k. But you talked about
Mhm.
generational wealth that we're able to produce for our families. We're
Mhm.
you see how you talked about the education aspect of it, right? I'm pro
Mhm.
education. Most
Mhm.
people don't see the purpose in it, but think about this. Your education has allowed doors to open for you. What you learned in school, I'm sure you have applied it to what you're doing now with your company, right?
Mhm.
And I always tell
Mhm.
people that's the goal. The goal is to go to school, get your degrees, and work on yourself, improving yourself.
Mhm.
Just like you said, this is an entry level position where it does not require you to have a degree, right? But
Mhm.
if you have one, the better. Because
Yes.
I think about when I went to grad school, right? I hated reading.
Mhm.
I did not like to, well, I'm always a researcher. I like to do things like that, but I didn't like to read.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned so many skills in school that I have applied to me as a training supervisor, me as the
Mm-hmm.
founder and CEO of Hello 911. Like, I've been applying that. But that's one of the things that I talk about when I go out to recruiting events. I tell them, hey, this agency has done a lot for me in this aspect because I get tuition reimbursement, or I did get tuition
That's good.
reimbursement when I
Yeah.
was able to invest in myself. And the companies want to know, if we invest in you, what are you doing to build us up as well? And it
Mm-hmm.
has definitely worked. And, I'm so glad you talked about that because, I did a live last week where we talked about hometown hero grant loans, right? For
Mm-hmm.
so many of us, we're in dispatch, we work a lot of overtime, and we work these jobs 30 years, right? And then after we retire, we're back into it again, right? And
Mm-hmm.
some of us say, we might get a little bit bored, but some of us, we have to do it because of financially. So,
Exactly.
I really believe in educating us about our finances in those 30 years that that we're dedicated to the profession. And this is when it starts, when we start, from
Mm-hmm.
day one. How do you help your trainees, to invest in their future? So oh God, I can
Mm-hmm.
talk on and on about that. But I'm glad you talked about that because, to be honest with you, that's very important. Very.
Yeah, 1000%. And I know, like, when it comes to degree, I think degree and, for me, I dispatch only police, so I just deal with law enforcement. But I think when we talk about, should we have degrees in this field, I'm also pro degree because I think not only I think one thing that education does at the higher level is it gives you life experience. You meet so many different people. Like I have stories from school where kids were coming from, these places where they've never seen people of color. You know what I mean? And they never experienced those different cultures and those different lifestyles. And then you get to college and you have this life experience that you wouldn't have gotten in your hometown, you know
Absolutely.
and then
Absolutely.
you bring that into your career past, whatever your degree is in. You bring that, and I think that's the piece that we overlook when we talk about requiring uh, a bachelor's in these fields. Is that piece is not the educational piece, but just the people piece that you go, and it forces you to challenge yourself in areas that you haven't been previously challenged by your family or your friends in your towns that you grew up with. You're going to be forced to experience people and then form your own decisions. And hopefully they're positive, and hopefully they combat any negative influence and direction you've grown up with. And then you take that into the field. And then you have more empathy for the people you're contacting and talking to on the phone.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because how they say the saying community policing, right? What about
Mm-hmm.
community dispatching?
Exactly.
Representation matters where, a lot of us are serving communities that we've never been exposed to, we've
Mm-hmm.
never lived. Like, I can even say for myself, when I first started working in the city of Pompano, and someone would say like cul-de-sac, caddy corner, and I'm like, what is that? I have no idea what a cul-de-sac is, right?
Right?
Because I
Yeah.
lived in a neighborhood where we were either low to middle income class, and we had a
Mm-hmm.
one-way street. That was it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, it was a culture shock as well, some of the terms that were being used, but then again, I also had people that were calling 911 that was a representation of things that I lived. So
Mm-hmm.
it was a mixed culture. And I think that's very important for us to understand that not only do we have the community policing aspect of it, but we also have community dispatching because,
Mm-hmm.
you want to be able to understand and relate to the communities that you're serving when they're calling 911. Some people may
Exactly.
use the term wife beater.
Mm-hmm.
Someone has never heard of what wife beater means, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
they may say, my aunt has sugar. Okay, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
We know that sugar means, okay, that means they have diabetes, right? They're
Yeah.
diabetic. But
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the things that I think that we miss a
Mm-hmm.
lot. But again, that goes ongoing training. Like, I'm getting ready to hit to Orlando next week and do a training and right training where I can come back to our agency and do some training with dispatchers when it comes to like implicit biases, when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
diversity, things of that nature, and
Mm-hmm.
discrimination. And I'm very excited to do that because again, that's a passion of mine. And to be honest with you, that's how I started Hello 911,
Awesome.
where it was really about the representation of the disparities between like people of color, right? But then
Mhm.
also, allowed me to realize that there is a need for training within dispatch,
Mhm.
and it dim from Picnic Patty or the Trayvon Martin situation, or other incidents that have happened in 911 Central Park. The lady calls in and says, hey, this teen stole my cell phone. Again, sometimes we've never been exposed to those type of calls, right? So
Mhm.
how do you as a dispatcher, you're able to, hey, someone's calling, answer this question. Oh, there's a black guy or a white guy walking around the neighborhood. They're not supposed to be there. Okay, but what do you
Yeah.
mean by that? You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that's important. And a lot of times we don't like to really have those conversations, but I think it's important, especially with us in dispatch, because we're
Mhm.
exposed to those conversations firsthand before units actually respond to the calls.
Exactly. And being able to prepare the units who are going on scene with the words that we type into the call, what kind of scene they're going into, right? So
Yes.
I'm reporting this, but it feels like it's more this type of situation. Like we
Yes.
have to we have to report what is being reported to us, right? Like
Yes.
we can't make any conclusions as to what is actually happening. So like if ladies like he has a gun and you're like if they had a gun, I'd be a little more hyped, like something. So
Yes.
we know it feels weird that dispatcher gut and being able to articulate that to those who are going on to scene so they can be kind of prepared that maybe it's a little less than what it is reporting without not reporting how they're reporting it.
Right.
Right. Tongue tied there.
That,
I think I said that
no,
right.
you're good. That's
Okay.
good because again,
Yeah.
what if that person they've probably seen someone with a gun before, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's normal to them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I always tell us, don't judge on how a person sounds. Oh, they didn't sound like they
Yeah.
shot their husband. Well, what are you
Yeah.
supposed to sound like after you shot someone, right?
Facts.
So yeah, so I always tell people you can't go off, someone again, I can't, maybe that's
Yeah.
a clue for someone who's an investigator,
Yeah.
right? But for me, I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes we've been exposed to things that maybe we should not have in life. And
Right.
it's just like, okay, another day, another domestic, another person
Mm-hmm.
that fell, But again, in all seriousness, we have to be able to understand and relate to our callers. And
Yeah.
that's what I think. I think that's very important.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Hello 911 and this whole journey and how that got started. And I know you mentioned it a little bit just now, so let's dive a little more into it. Tell me about your baby.
Yes. How did you know I was getting ready to say that? Hello 911 is definitely my baby. Let me tell you. So Hello 911 started about 3 years ago. Sitting in grad school, professors like, hey, you don't have to wait until you get your LLC. Let's make it happen, right? So I should have been paying attention in class. I was not, right? Right now I'm focused on, okay, how can I get to this avenue she's talking about? And you know what? I say I'm good at 911. I've been doing it for a long, long time. It's a passion of mine. I love teaching others about it. So what can I do? So, and then that's when I started getting on Twitter, right? And I'm like, what is everyone saying about 911? And everything popped up was hello 911. So honestly, that's how I got the name from it.
Nice.
And it's always when people call, we're like, hello 911. They're asking the questions once sometimes. They're excited, like, hello 911, I need help. I just been robbed, right? So, that's how I kind of got it, and I've kind of evolved in a sense over the last 3 years because I started to realize I had a little bit more passion in certain areas. And, one of the things I want people to understand is you're not going to be great at everything. There's going to be some things that you're going to be a little bit more passionate about and be more understanding. So at Hello 911, we are a training and development consulting agency, right? So I do provide consulting services, for some companies that I'm actually in contract with now. And I provide emergency management consulting. And I didn't realize how much I had the desire for emergency management, for planning. And sometimes it could be a little bit, boring to some But let me tell you, with everything that's going on in the world right now, we just had an active shooter incident happen.
Yeah.
Where was it? Illinois yesterday, right?
We had two.
And
We had Illinois and Philadelphia, I think,
oh
two
yes, I forgot
similar.
about the one in Philly. Yes.
Yeah.
So, we're every time I see that happens on the news, I'm like, we always say we're sending out prayers to the families, we're sending out prayers to the dispatch center. Because think about this, that event in Philly that happened, when they called 911, and even in Illinois, guess what happened? There's an influx of 911 calls that you're starting with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And are we prepared for that? Are your dispatch centers prepared for that? And sometimes we're not, right? So that's
Yeah.
where I kind of come in with the consulting and the training that I do with the company. And we're about providing transparent solutions for the advancement of public safety telecommunicators.
That's
So,
awesome.
we have a lot of names. We either public safety telecommunicators, emergency communicators, 911 dispatch. We're all of that, right? And that's been my goal. My goal and my mission is to create a platform for us, that kind of thinks outside the box. Like I just did a class on I am more than a babysitter. And
Mhm.
people are like, what does she mean by that? Right? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, straight
And
up.
when you get ready to explain it, and it's in it, and it's about us, changing that narrative. We're always stereotyped as we sit down at a desk all day, and this is what we're doing, right? We're sitting
Mhm.
looking at our screen, making sure our units are going where they're going. It's like we're babysitting them, right? Or even as a
Yeah.
supervisor, all I'm doing all day is watching people do their job. Absolutely
Mhm.
not. We are more than adult babysitters. We are encouragers. We are gatekeepers. We are the ones that make sure your husbands, your wives come back home to you at night.
Mhm.
We are the people that make sure our team is able to deliver a service, and I think I want a lot of us to get into that mindset to understand that, hey, you have the ability to change things. One of the young ladies from Carbine, Andrea, she says, be the change champion. You know,
Mhm.
you have so many ways to change the way people look at 911 and not focus on the bad. Because in my opinion, the bad is what? Mandatory overtime. But guess what?
Mhm.
If you take that mandatory overtime and turn it into an investment in 10, 15 years, or maybe 5 years, you can have this, you can have that, you can go on vacations, you can do so many things with your families, right?
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
I love the doors that Hello 911 has definitely opened for me. I've been able to meet a diverse group of people that, to be honest with you, have been a support system for me. You have been
Yeah.
definitely a support system for me since day one. Remember when I started doing my breast
Mutual.
cancer shirts, right? And it was
Right?
like, man,
I've been wearing that all the time.
yes. So let me
Yeah.
tell you, I'm like, and I tell people about you all the time because I'm like,
Oh,
this girl is Wade and Callie doing her thing. You're
yeah.
phenomenal, and that's what it's about. It's about
Mhm.
supporting each other. I always believe in collaboration over competition, right? So even
1,000%.
though we're all doing 911 related, we all have different components in 911.
Mhm.
Where I could
Mhm.
be talking about emergency management, you're talking about preparedness. We
Mhm.
can have Sarah Weston over here, where Sarah's on the background of things, NG 911, right? I'm trying to
Mhm.
learn it, but I'm not an IT person.
Right.
So guess
Yeah.
what? That's not my thing. That's not my
Mhm.
thing. You got Jennifer Poole over there at Rapid SOS, where they're into NG 911, FG 911 as well, where their systems are really changing the game in 911. And although
Mhm.
I have a little finger on them, because most of the time our agencies use all these platforms,
Yeah.
I'm not a subject matter expert in that, but I am a
Yeah.
facilitator, I am a teacher, and I'm going to make you think.
Mhm.
So I love that about Hello 911. And, again, it's about opening doors for others as well. And, the goal is for me is to build a team of people that have like minds like me, because again, I can't be in one place, but 12 places at one time. So, that's what it's about. And I'm hoping to build a network for
Mhm.
dispatchers. And that's the goal.
For sure. And I mean, I think you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's so interesting when you're building a brand, a company,
Yes.
social media. Like, for me, watching how people, uh, you know, grow. And that's kind of what I like. I've looked at my stuff and just been like, oh, that was wild. Like I used to post that, and now, like now I'm just even like my YouTube videos. Like I'm in the process right now of recreating my videos because I'm just doing it on a whole nother level. It
Yes.
wasn't that those were bad. It was just I've grown, so I want to
Yes.
put out updated, better stuff. So
Yes.
especially on the critical topics and things like that people are coming to YouTube channel for,
Yes.
so they can consume that.
Yes.
And I think one of the things that I've seen with your company and your Instagram as far as growth is this everyone is a hero when you're saving lives campaign that you got
Yes.
going on. Can you tell me more about that? Because I think it's awesome.
Yes, thank you so much. So I want everyone to look at themselves and realize that everyone has the opportunity, or not only the opportunity, the ability to help save
Mhm,
someone's life. So it's
mhm,
not just about you, giving someone CPR. It's not about you talking someone off the ledge. You can be a
mhm,
teenager in your neighborhood doing something positive, which can have other teenagers who are not doing so, positive things look at you and say, hey, I want to change my life. I want to be like Derek. Derek's going
mhm,
off to college. He's getting ready to go to the military. I'm tired of being out here on the corner just absolutely doing nothing, right? So,
mhm,
Derek doesn't realize that he's saving the lives of those in his communities. Our teachers have the ability to save the children's lives, let's say in a classroom, because of what they're instilling in their minds. Like I
mhm,
said, the mind is a powerful thing, to waste, right? Because again, we're instilling values, we're instilling so much into our children.
mhm,
Doctors saving lives during the pandemic. You have
mhm.
police officers who are saving lives every day in the community against active shooters, domestic violence situations. And for me, I'm team dispatch, right? We're
Yeah.
saving lives every time we answer that phone. So for
Mhm,
me, it's not about you as a dispatcher or a doctor, it's everyone. Everyone
mhm.
has the ability within, right, to help save someone's life, whether that's spiritually, whether that is physically, whether that is mentally. You have the ability to change someone's life, to save their lives. So that's
Mhm.
how I came up with that campaign.
That is so awesome. And you got shirts available for purchase?
Yes,
You
I
got
do. I do. So
yeah.
I do. They are available definitely on our website, which is www.hello-911.com. Thank you
Mhm.
guys. Thank you, most importantly, for your support with that. I'm looking to come out with more colors because right now I started off with a black and white, right?
Yeah,
So now
yeah,
I want to add some color to it, some flavor to it, because
yeah.
again, honestly, I rock it everywhere I go. I don't have it on today because I had it on all day yesterday, but I'm here in San Antonio representing,
Yeah.
for Hello 911 guys. So thank you
Sounds
for
like
that.
you got to get a TikTok version now because you out there in that 180
Oh my
degree heat,
God.
you know?
Let me tell you, Ashley, honey, I am 37, right? And TikTok is not my thing, but I need to learn. I do. I need to learn. I need to learn. So no, I'm gonna call you and see how much you're charging for those services because I think you are great at this
Hit me
stuff.
up, girl.
Okay.
I am down to share what I have learned, and I am learning every
Yes.
day. Trust me.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah. And so on your website, do you have online courses as well that folks can access? What will they find when they come to your website to check you out?
So when you go on your website, you'll find more about me, the services that I offer. I am hoping to add a course. Actually, I'm working on a telephone CPR course right now. So
Nice.
that's become the hot topic because most states now
Mm,
are requiring all their 911 operators, no matter if you do police, fire, whatever, they're requiring it to happen, and I can
oh wow.
understand why. If I'm calling you, telling you they can't breathe, they're not breathing, they're not awake, and I have to transfer you over to someone to
Mm,
give them those instructions. So I understand. So, my thing is you can't teach someone how to do CPR. I kind of leave that to the big wigs at like American Heart Association, Red Cross. But for
mhm,
us, it's how do I apply those techniques to someone on the phone? So I'm working on that now, and maybe like a 2 to 3 hour course, maybe two. I'm almost done with that, so you can look forward to seeing that on the website very soon. And then it's also courses that I offer, but they're not available online. But that's the goal. The goal is to definitely have them available online, because if you're like me, I have ADHD, right? And I'm always over the place. So for someone to sit in front of the computer for so long, you kind of lose their attention. So I'm looking to create short content. But you can see the services that I offer. You can definitely contact me on there. But I'm not big yet, right? So you can still contact me on social media. I'll respond. So
Hey, it's coming, girl.
it's coming. It's coming. So that's what we're offering on the website, and also some merchandise that I'm hoping to upload more. And then one day I'll have my book on there. So I'm actually working on a book
Oh,
right now. Yes, yes.
nice.
Another project. So, and it
Very
is
cool.
about us at 911, telling our stories. So I'm
Nice.
looking forward to meeting. I need some more people, right? It's kind of
Right.
hard for me to get people to tell their stories, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking, and I'm asking, if you have a story to tell, you love to share, because most of us, we have a personal story that connects with 911. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal, and I'm hoping to get some, candidates for that.
Okay. You want, if someone's interested in jumping in on that project with you, just shoot you like a DM or email
They can
or
shoot me a DM. If you find
okay.
me on Instagram at Hello 911, they can definitely click the link in my bio with Linktree, and it'll take you to all of my contact information. Like I said, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm very heavy on LinkedIn as well. So definitely reach out to me, because I love to talk to you guys and hear your stories at 911.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me today. And always being someone who like totally supports me, like it's always like reposting my stuff, sending out my YouTube channel. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoy what you're doing over there with Hello 911.
Thank you so much, Ashley, for having me on the Raspy Dispatcher. You are phenomenal. Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
for listening to me today. Hope I didn't talk your ear off, but thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We
Yes.
appreciate it. All right, I'll be right back with you. All right, another big thank you to Dominique for joining us today on Let's Talk Dispatch. Again, you can find her on Instagram, hello911, hello911.com. And yeah, if you have any stories that you think could be used in the book she's working on, make sure to hit her up. We need people to share, their stories and their experience in this line of work so we can get more dispatchers in the door. If you're interested in joining me on Let's Talk Dispatch, you could shoot me a DM as well. Link in the bio takes you to the calendar where you can pick a time that works for you. And of course, remember to subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, all that good stuff. And until next time, stay raspy, everybody.